Hello, my friend. I'm out here in the bee yard answering your questions, and hopefully the bees won't run into me. I seem to put my chair right in the middle of the runway. Got a lot of questions left over from my live stream, but I'm pumped and excited to be helping you guys with all of your questions. I know that many of you are facing a lot of questions, and stay tuned toward the end of this question and answer time because I'm going to be having some life lessons. I'll always like to have a coffee time, so looking forward to that. I don't know how long I can sit here. I feel like there's bees in my hair now. Stay tuned for a bee sting. Mine. Okay, let's jump into the questions. Got a lot planned for this question and answer time. These are left over from my live stream. I live stream every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Central Time here on YouTube, also on Facebook. So you can jump in every single Thursday night, 7 p.m. Central Time, and watch me live as I teach on beekeeping, answer your questions. We always have a great giveaway. Oh, by the way, look at this great giveaway we're going to have this Thursday night. It is a copper color top. Amazing. We're going to give this away. It's for a 10-frame hive. It is beautiful. I love it. All right, let's jump in. What situation would you change the hive entrance? Well, the hive entrance, is the distance between the bottom board and the bottom deep, usually a 3/4 inch gap all the way across, roughly 14 inches. And I would change it if I had robbing. I would put a robber screen on. I think I would change it if I had to close it off because they were spraying the farm fields with the chemical I didn't like. So the night before, I would close the bees off. The entrance would be shut off completely with a screen bottom board so they could get some air. In the wintertime, I might reduce it, especially if I didn't wrap them up or something like that. I would also reduce it if I found that there were a lot of other insects, maybe yellow jackets or wasps that were trying to get in. So there's a lot of reasons. I think a lot of us like to keep it open or halfway open during a nectar flow to speed things up. Hey, Rich, I caught a swarm this year in a tree line away from my property. Should I place a swarm box in the same place next year? Is there a sense that bees follow a pattern to repeat yearly? Yeah, they may not, but a lot of times the pheromone that's left over from that swarm is still able to be noticed or smelled by the bees the next year. And so it may not be a bad idea to do that. Charles, can I put a queen in a working laying hive without worry? No, Charles, a laying worker hive, they kind of feel like they have a queen because a lot of the laying workers are laying and they may actually kill your new queen. And I've talked about how I will move a frame with the queen on it, an open brood, into a laying worker hive, put it against the wall so that the pheromones of the mated queen and all the bees and all the larvae will cause the, there's one trying to get me, that would cause all the laying workers to, yeah, I think I may have to move. This is not a good place to sit. Let me move that way a little bit. Okay, that's a little better. I wanted to get kind of close to the hives for dramatic effect. And to be honest with you, a little too dramatic for me. Where in the world was I? What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. Okay, so laying workers. Yeah, I think that the best thing to do is to put that frame with a queen and brood on it so that it can suppress all the laying workers. Okay, if cost, weight, location, etc. were not factors, what would you say would be the best type of hive for the benefit of the bees? Got a great answer for you. The trees. Seriously, that's best for the bees, those trees out, hollow tree out there in the forest. But we don't have the option to go out there and play inside hollow trees and look at bees because, they're too concealed. Now, this is a personal preference. I will generate so many comments based on what I say, right? If I don't say the right things for the right group, then that group's going to be upset with me because they think, oh my gosh, if I don't say land hive, the land hive people will think I'm an idiot. If I don't say a horizontal hive, then all the horizontal people will get mad at me. If you're going to put them somewhere, why not put them into a hive that most beekeepers, clubs, entomologists, experimental trials, they've all been done on a Langstroth hive. And I think it gives us an edge to go with something that is extremely, extremely common. That will also help a new beekeeper. So consequently, it will help the bees. If the beekeeper is able to understand and manage the hive better, he or she will be able to understand the bees better. How's that for an answer? That's about the best I can do, I think, on that one. I've tried all those different hives too. I'm just a Langstroth feller. I like the Langstroth. It works out good for me. Hey, David, caught a swarm the other day that looked like they had a virgin queen. They're in a nuke at the moment, and I am feeding them 1-to-1. Should I also add pollen patty because they don't have any brood at all? I don't think so. If you've got a good nectar source out there, they're probably bringing them pollen too. It sounds like they swarm, so that means the season is ripe and ready for all the good food the bees need. I wouldn't bother with feeding them pollen. That may just facilitate faster growth of small hive beetle. Robert, how do you stop a swarm? Seems like just make a split. However, they can still swarm after a split. They can still swarm after a split, but they won't until about 30 days after you make that split because they really don't have a queen. They have to raise a new queen. That's why I like it. It gives me a little bit of time before I have to worry about making a split again. It's not too late to graft, is it? Grafting queens can be done anytime during the bee season. The thing you have to watch for is, do we still have drone congregation areas where those virgin queens can go out and get mated? As long as you have drones, as long as the weather's good, you can keep trying to mate. That works out good. Hey, Elizabeth, I keep getting workers laying and making queen cells in one of my honey supers. What should I do? I don't know what to think about that, Elizabeth. It's not usually the case. If there's a queen present, it's not common to have laying workers in a hive where there's queen that's laying well in the brood area. And so why laying workers would be up in your super laying eggs, that would mean you see multiple eggs in a cell, eight eggs in one cell. It would also mean that they're making queen cells up in your super to replace the queen. You got a lot going on there. I guess I can't answer that without a lot more information. It's a very unusual situation. What I would suggest you do is make sure you have a queen in your brood area below the supers, that she's laying single eggs in the brood area and her brood pattern looks good. If that's the case, I would try to put a queen excluder underneath your super. Maybe you've already done that. That's why you think you got laying workers. If that's the case, you may have another queen up there. I'd kind of take a look at that. Yep. Pop in here real quick and say, please subscribe. I've been doing the math and I figured I can reach 1 million subscribers when I turn 83 years old. I got to really eat my Wheaties unless you subscribe and get me there quicker. So I appreciate you subscribing. Give me a thumbs up. Let's get back to more questions. What are your thoughts on scorpion mites for a varroa mite treatment? That's something that a lot of people get excited about. Everybody wants another treatment that solves all of our problems with the varroa destructor mite. So every time we hear of anybody doing a study on mushroom spores or scorpions, anything like that, RNA, we all get excited. We think all of our troubles are over. Believe me, I've been hearing this for a long time, decades. I've been hearing about all these new things. And it's just kind of like when you hear things in the medical industry, they'll say, oh, there's new discovery that will prevent heart disease or prevent cancer or Alzheimer's. And, more study needs to be done for another 5 or 10 years. It's just never practical or anything that's right around the corner. So these scorpions, gosh, there's a bee. What do you call these? Schefflers, let's see, scorpion mites. They're called Keflers or Schefflers. I think they're called cancoides. I believe that's the name of them. And there's been experiments done. There was an article in the Bee Culture. I write monthly for the Bee Culture. I have a column in the Bee Culture magazine. 2018, I think. I think it was about 7 years ago that somebody wrote an article about this. I think it's a long way off. These Keflers or Shufflers do kill or eat mites. How they work out in a hive, can beekeepers make it all happen? I think we're a long way off from that. Yep. Is it possible for drones to be aggressive even though they don't have a stinger? Absolutely they are. They have been shown to be able to try to scare off predators even though they don't have a stinger. And that's the case too with like a male carpenter bee. You see the male carpenter bee flying around you. He's out flying around the nest, but he doesn't have a stinger either. Tammy, David, this is our first year of bees. Congratulations, Tammy. Everybody give a shout out to Tammy in the comments for her being a new beekeeper. Leave a comment now. We made it through our first winter. Way to go. We're in Oklahoma and our bees aren't drawing out the comb. We've had a lot of rain this spring. Could this be what's causing it? Yes. I think we're all experiencing that. We've had an exceptionally cooler, wetter time here in Illinois as well, slowing down the buildup. Although you can see behind, if you can tell, the bees are really pumping out stuff today. They're doing good. And I'm hoping so badly I don't get stung in the face while I'm doing this. But anyway, yeah, I think that that's the cause of it. One of the things you can do is feed your bees one-to-one sugar water. I demonstrated that in my last video yesterday, and they ate about a little over, well, let's say a little bit less than a half a gallon of water in 7 days, sugar water. And so that helps them build and draw out the comb. You can add wax to it. That's going to help tremendously. You've mentioned GrubX around colonies for hive beetles. Has it been effective? GrubX on the label is not made for small hive beetle. And so there's not a lot beekeepers legally can say. It really needs to say for small hive beetle control for you to use it that way. However, if you're using it like me to kill the grubs so that you don't have those moles tearing up your yard, and it just so happens to also control the grubs of small hive beetle, it's very effective. Wow. Yeah, and it lasts a long time, and it's kind of safe around bees. So a lot of beekeepers are using that, finding great results with it. All right. How soon can I use Viroxan on new swarms and recently requeened hives after being queenless for about a month? I would always refer you back to the label. A lot of the labels require a certain number of frames of bees, FOB. Always check that out. Make sure you meet that qualification. What do you do if you see cat brood in with your honey? Is it possible to extrude this? Yeah, sometimes you may have a honey super and just a little bit at the bottom, you might have some drone brood or something like that. What I try to do is when I uncap it, don't uncap the pupae, only the honey. And when you spin it, you're not going to spin out, you're not going to tear open those, the capped over pupae, and then just the honey will be spun out. That's what I try to do. If a hive is aggressive and swarms or supersede, is there a possibility the new queen will raise gentler bees? Absolutely, and here's why. If you get a new queen, I mean, it's better to get a queen that isn't raised from the mother of the aggressive queen genetics, right? That'd be your best option. But let's say you don't and you want to use her daughter. Her daughter still has to mate with drones. So you got 50% chance of improvement, right? Because there's going to be different drones. She's going to mate with 20. The other thing is she's going to mate with 20 plus drones. And so there are going to be so many subfamilies within your colony because the sperm from each of those fathers is going to be different. And so it increases the chance that it will calm down. And in bad luck, it could increase the chance that it would get worse. If all the DNA alleles and all that lined up just right or just unfortunate, it could actually get worse. And so, but usually you would see an improvement, yeah. But again, the best thing to do, requeen with a calmer queen from a different hive or something. I see the bees bringing in pollen on their legs. I wonder if they are responsible for placing the pollen in cells, or do they get some help? Primarily, 80 to 90%, those foragers come in and they have to find out where the pollen frames are, and they go there and scrape it off with their other legs, but they do get help from other bees, house bees, that help pack it down in there. You often reference other videos you have made, but I find it difficult searching on YouTube. Are your videos more accessible or organized if I subscribe or buying your classes? Nope. That is one of the difficulties of YouTube. Let me tell you a few things about YouTube that's challenging. I think it's a great outlet. You guys already know you can learn from me. These things are free. Oh my gosh, right now you're watching all this information. It's free, and for you to have to go and take a college course or buy a bunch of books to learn all this will cost you a lot of money. However, YouTube puts ads on my videos. There's no control that I have over it. If I said don't put ads on my video, they'll put ads on there anyway, and they get to keep all the money. So you put up with ads, right? And you put up with the random selection of which video YouTube wants to show you. It won't be in order. It may be from 10 years ago. It may not be from yesterday. So I do think it's better to take a class, one of my online courses, where everything is structured in order, goes into more depth than what you see here. That's a good idea. That's a good thing to say. I like that. Good question. All right. What do you guys think of renting a hive to people as pollinating small garden hives? Not a bees in the face again. They're trying to get through me. All right. If you start putting bees on property that other people have, I think that works out good. A lot of people do rent bees like that, and it works out well. Might be hard, is far away from where you live. You might have a challenge of getting there as much as you should. And you might have to work out contracts where if they use chemicals on their garden and kill your bees, all that kind of stuff, it's a little bit of risk you need to think through on that. Yeah, but a lot of people do it, actually. Hi, David. When I add my honey super, should I put a spacer with a top entry hole above it? I don't think a spacer is ever a good idea. Bees will build comb there. I don't think a hole up by the super is good either. Robber bees in the fall can play havoc with that opening up there. Hey, Dean, how are you today? I had a question posed that I could not answer during a presentation. Oh my gosh, am I going to be able to answer it? When a hive swarms, do the drones go or stay? They go. Oh, wait a minute. Not all the drones. Some go, because we know this, because if you catch a swarm and you look at it, and I've done it, there are drones in the swarm. And you might ask, well, how does that happen? They don't look at waggle dances. Drones don't watch waggle dances. They do it by probably the odor of the swarm, the activity, the movement. They can sense and smell really good. They have one more extension on their antenna, so they can follow the swarm, and they do. I don't think it's a lot of drones. I think probably the swarm isn't crazy about the drones following them, because they eat a lot and they got to build up their hive again. But they kind of do need to feel like they got to keep drones going for other hives. That's a good question. Yeah. If the queen beats me to the super and starts laying, is it too late to put her back down below? Thank you. Now, I'd grab her, put her down below, and then once the brood, eggs that she laid, hatches, they'll start putting nectar in there and turn it into honey without her being able to lay again. How do you balance a situation that looks like the hive is going honeybound, but you're a new beekeeper with no comb and storage? If they're getting honeybound, you can take out, if it's nectar, take it out, extract it. If it's honey, uncap it, extract it. Put the frames back in, let them have more room. And then if it's really wet nectar, you can't bottle it. It's not able to be called honey, but you could feed it back to the bees in a jar with holes in it, because nectar is pretty thin. Hey, Carrie. God bless you for the selfless work that you do to share your beekeeping wisdom with so many people. Finally, somebody that noticed my hard work. Thanks, Carrie. Has been incredible, helpful. Got a question. When is a hive too small to salvage? That is, to get queen right. That's $1 million question. Time of the year is the most important. You can take a small hive in the spring and give them a queen, start feeding them, got drawn comb, that'll help them, or wax coated frames, and give it a go, see if it happens. As you get further into the season, like into summer and fall, it's going to be really tough after that. William, hi David, I started a resource nuke this spring. I have laying workers in the hive and no queen. What steps do I need to take to get this nuke queen right? Again, I have 4 other queen right hives. Well, just like I mentioned earlier, move over a frame that has a good laying queen on it, all the bees, open brood, put it against the wall, put the queen facing the wall, see if they'll accept her, and in the hive you took that queen from, they'll raise another queen or you can introduce one. What are you going to do with your horizontal hive? Never put bees in it again. Next question. Oh, feeling better. Installed a package 3 weeks ago and marked the queen last week. Didn't see her today, which made me nervous. When should I check again for her? Thank you. Austin, I would check again in a week, 7 to 10 days, look for her again. Sounds like she was mated. Could you have marked a virgin queen? I don't know. Linda, I tried to mark queens in 2 different colonies and they both flew away. What? Wah, wah, wah. That doesn't make any sense. Is there a better kit? And how do I avoid a flyaway queen? Linda, they should not be able to fly. That should not ever happen. Sounds like virgin queens. All I can think of. Yeah, I'm at a loss for that. I mark queens all the time. They don't fly away on me unless they are a virgin queen. They will fly away, but not a mated queen. Very interesting. Hi, David, Sherry, and team. By the way, man, it is crazy out here. I'm just looking at it. A sea of bees flying right at me. And at the last minute, they changed the course. There's going to be one of them out there that's going to be texting and flying and crash into me. By the way, speaking of texting and driving, it has nothing to do with that. Look at this. Danny, a LiveStream member, and he's a member of my Bee Team 6 mentorship program. I mentor hundreds of beekeepers around the U.S. Through email. And Danny, you went all out. I got a lot more questions. Hang on. I just got to show this. Danny drew or had this picture of me made. Oh my gosh, look at that. What the heck? That is unbelievable. Obviously, I don't look that old, do I? That is pretty cool. Got my cowboy up phrase on there, Danny. Oh, it says at the bottom, Waggle Dance 2025, because on a live stream, I had to spin the wheel, and it landed on dance. You guys made me do a waggle dance on camera. I had to do a waggle dance. You got to see me shake my booty. Well, thank you, Danny. That's really cool. And thanks for being a part of Bee Team 6. Bee Team 6 this week, I'm sending out I send out a weekly teaching or newsletter, and I'm talking about how to deal with pesticide poisoning, either from farm fields or sometimes your neighbor may spray Sevin, S-E-V-I-N. They may spray it on trees, fruit trees. They may spray mosquito sprays in your neighborhood. Trying my best not to get stung. And so that's a neat article, newsletter that I've got some tips on avoiding all of that. Gosh, so if you're interested in Bee Team 6 mentorship, I'll leave a link right here. You can check it out. The worst place to be stung, by the way, is in your face, on your lips. So this is, you guys watching me sit here is like, I always like to watch car races when I was little for one reason. I wanted to see if they crashed. And so a lot of you are watching. I know David's going to be stung. I got to keep watching this. Nobody can sit in a busy bee yard and not get, he's going to get stung. Stay tuned. Ooh. Let's see. Yeah, next page. I need to equalize my hives until when can I until when I can add capped brood nurse bees without fighting. Oh, I see. One hive killed a bred queen in favor of raising their own. Should I not mix those? Should I not mix with those? That's a good question. I have always been so lucky, fortunate, to have the opportunity to take a frame out of hive number A with bees on it, everything, and put it in hive number B, and nobody cares. I made videos. I showed videos of me like, okay, let's see if they fight. And I've showed they get along fine. I don't know what to tell you. Some other people tell me they fight. I've never had that problem. But introducing a queen when they prefer to raise their own, that's really common. You got to make sure that you do that just right, too. Anyone have information on the Pennsylvania conference David is doing in November? I should have information. I'm working with Frank and the Pennsylvania, let's see, what is it called? Pennsylvania State Beekeepers Association has invited me to come out there and speak in November. I don't think they have the registration open yet on their website or anything. I didn't see it. So just stay tuned. I'll keep you apprised of when it goes online or something. David, I did a walkaway spit. A walkaway spit. That's when you spit and walk away. David, I did a walkaway split. How long should I feed the hive without a queen? Should I also be feeding the hive without the queen? Because of you, gone from 2 hives to 6. Thanks for your support. Well, thanks, John. Wow. Glad that I helped you expand your bees. You know, John, if you got good pollen out there, good resources like, gosh, I do today, I wouldn't worry about feeding them unless you're trying to get some frames drawn out. One of the hives behind me here you can see my frame feeder. No, not my frame feeder. My Burns feeding board. It's between the top deep and the next deep. I think it has 2 deeps on it now. But I'm feeding them because they're drawing out. I'm trying to get them to draw out more comb. Yeah, that's when I keep feeding them. Otherwise, I just let them, if they've got drawn comb, they can bring it in. Second year beekeeper, how do I get my bees to draw out comb on the medium super? I have 2 deeps, 1 medium on the hive. Bees are backfilling the deeps, taking room from the queen, not using queen excluder. Again, that's another question we get asked a lot. That might have to be my thumbnail. I think I would put added wax to the undrawn foundation. I would feed my bees long enough to help them get started drawing comb out on those feeders. Hi, David. How many mating flights does a queen take? Anthony, how are you? We find that a queen could take 1 mating flight and be successful, but she can take more during her first mating experience. She won't go back, you know, a month later or a year later. But in that first few days, she may take a couple of flights to get mated. Hey, Paul, thanks for everything. In March, I did 5 oxalic acid vapor treatments. I split my hives, and now there's no brood. Would now be a good time to treat with OA again? How many times? And you're a ham radio operator. Yeah, 73s means goodbye in ham radio world. I'm a ham radio operator. Kilo 9, Echo Zulu Echo. All right, well, you're controlling your mites, but you don't have any bees. Doggone it. That's one way to get rid of mites. Get rid of brood and you won't have any mites. So, yeah, I don't know, Paul. You got to have bees, you know. You can't control mites at the expense of losing all your bees. So you don't have any brood. Would it be good to treat again? It's always good to treat when you're broodless with OA. It doesn't kill below the cap brood. But let's get some brood going, Paul. All right, Scott, how do you tell a primary versus a secondary swarm? Only way you could really tell, the primary swarm will have a mated queen. The secondary swarms are going to have a virgin queen. Now, who's going to be able to identify that without dissecting the spermatheca, which I've done and enjoyed doing. Larry, when you introduce a virgin in a mating nuke, do you do a direct release or do you leave her in a queen cage and let the nurse bee release her? Always let the bees release her. Always, anytime you introduce a queen that's been out more than a day of anything, put her behind candy, let there be a slow release. That's a good question. How about the new EPA approved RNA varroa treatment? It is not approved. As of today, I got the documentations through a group I'm involved with, and they're encouraging us to leave comments on the EPA trying to get this registered. And so as of today, this has not been approved, this RNA treatment. It actually is a treatment that focuses on a protein that keeps mites from reproducing. Mites are still going to come in to the front of the hive, but they just won't be able to reproduce as much. So anyway, Vatiscana is what it's called. And yeah, I think it'd be a good idea. I was encouraged by a master beekeeper group I'm a part of to go on and leave comments how badly we need this. And so there you go. Wow, friends, we got through those questions. Now it's time for coffee time. And I don't have any coffee because it's kind of hot out here. Finally got some hot weather. But today I want to encourage you guys about how to treat other people. All right? When I was a kid, I had an awesome dad. There were 3 of us children. My sister, that you've probably seen on one of my last videos, she got in a hive with me. She's 7 years older than me. I've got an older brother who's 3 years older than me. And then there's me, I'm the baby. And so my parents, especially my dad, was an outstanding guy. He was down to earth. He started out with nothing. He was raised out in the country in the 30s during the Great Depression in Arkansas, very poor. I mean, he was so poor, I mean, it was just pathetic how bad off those 13 kids were. Their dad died when they were young. Anyway, my dad worked his way up by his own bootstraps, and he was an honest, hardworking man who felt like you should treat people good. And he felt like that it mattered how you treated people. And he taught me that. And so I was raised by a dad who felt like a man should be a man. You know, a boy, he taught me that a young man should be a proper young man. Yeah, you should treat people fair. You should give people a fair shake, benefit of the doubt. He taught me things like this. Don't say anything bad about somebody. You know, if you got nothing good to say about somebody, don't say anything at all. Doesn't help you at all. Don't sit around and talk bad about people. Don't gossip about people. Try to find a way to be kind to everyone. Go out of your way to be kind. He taught it by example, and he demanded it as a loving father. So he set the example and taught us vigorously how to be good to people, how to be kind, how to think the best of people. He demonstrated it. What I like best about what my dad taught me in working with other people is that he taught me to be a leader, but at the same time lead as a servant, like a servant. Like you want to be, if you're a leader of a construction crew, for example, he said, you get in there, you do the work too. You work hard alongside your crew. You pull your weight. You show them that you're not some uppity, too good to do hard work kind of guy. You get in there and you do the work. And you work alongside of the people that you're leading. And I think that's awesome. I followed that. I had another career, and that was exactly what I did. I was a leader, but I also had to go alongside of people and do the things they did to be a servant leader. And I think that's powerful. And, you know, I think that another thing my dad taught me was how to comfort people, how to encourage people. My dad was A+ on on encouraging people. I've been in so many situations with my dad that something went wrong. And I remember so many times where he turned that wrong into something good just by his words, you know. I remember we built something one time and some of the rafters weren't right. They were ordered correctly, but built wrong. And as a result, it was going to make an offset of about a foot in the ceiling. And I was kind of complaining, oh my gosh, we've already got them up there. We just noticed they're a foot off. You know, there's going to be the ceiling's going to go and then drop a foot and go And we'd already set them because I don't know why we didn't notice it until we got them set. But my dad happened to be looking at them and I was complaining about those rafters. And my dad said, David, you're going to learn to love that. that's just his way of saying, that's okay, it's cool. Maybe that's going to be good looking like that. It's going to change up the way the ceiling looks, you know. And we left it and it looked cool. And he was always encouraging. And that's one of the things that I feel that's really important. You know, we live in a time now where it's almost a hobby, almost a sport of people putting down other people, talking bad about other people. But the way I look at it is, I want to be someone that checks out of this planet with people saying, you know, David really was an encourager. He really did help people. And you probably noticed that on my videos a lot, that I do try to encourage people. Yeah, I do try to encourage people. So I want to say that I get a lot of kick out of helping and encouraging people. I talked to a gentleman yesterday, Tom Copenhaver, great beekeeper. He's been a part of Bee Team 6 forever and he's learned so much and he was ready to quit beekeeping. And I talked him out of quitting. And now, gosh, Tom is so successful in beekeeping. He's a part of a USDA study with testing queens and all. He's really just elevated. I got Charlie Linder. Do you know Charlie Linder? Big time commercial beekeeper. I think he's the biggest commercial beekeeper in central Illinois, this Midwest maybe. And I got Charlie started in beekeeping. He came to my class right over there and put 20 beehives in the back of a Cadillac trunk, tied it down with a rope and took off. I encouraged him to get going. He's making a livelihood out of it. I love that. That really turns my crank, you know. And so if you are in a place, beekeeping or whatever, and you're kind of getting burned out, tired, drugged down, depressed, I just got to encourage you that the best thing you can do is come up with a way of encouraging yourself. That's the hardest thing to do. Usually we ruminate in our minds, we put ourselves down. Yesterday, my son and Christian and I were driving into our lane about a mile over there, and we turned in. Well, there was a guy there that he had blocked the turn in. It's two lanes, but he was right in the middle of the road at the stop sign. And he had a big trailer full of canoes on the back. We have a river right up less than a mile this way, full of black locust trees. And he had his truck door open. We couldn't get by him and we couldn't hardly get off the road, you know. But I said, roll down the window, Christian. Christian was driving. I was like, you okay? You need anything? No, I was just making sure everything's tied down good. Sorry about leaving my door open. I'm an idiot. I wasn't thinking. Hey, are you the beekeeper? Do you know Professor Schmidt in St. Joe? He knows you. And, you know, I was nice to him. He was nice to me. I can't drive past somebody that's seem like they need help and leave them there. I want to be encouraging, kind, and supportive. So maybe it's time for all of us in this present world that we live in. Some of you know you were taught that too. I'm probably preaching to the choir, but we can forget it, right? Or we can lose it or not care anymore. Let's get back to that, okay? Let's get back, because like honeybees, look at that. They're all working together back there and they're helping each other out. They're doing a good job. I think the world would be a better place if we found a way to help each other out, lift up each other, encourage one another. So I'm David Burns. I'm a beekeeper, but foremost, I'm somebody that cares about you, and I want you to be a better beekeeper. I also want you to enjoy life better. And I'm hoping that my voice, my encouragement, my stories can kind of help me connect with you, and that we can become friends. It's a lonely world out there. I got your back, got you covered. Okay, thanks. Hey, listen, I made a video and I'd really love for you to watch it. It's all about knowing when to add the next box. When do you add the next box? Also, I'm going to show you when to add and how to add a green drone comb for mite control. Check that video out right here. See you guys over there.